Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, welcome to another edition of Eric Deters, the Law. As always, I'd like to explain that I'm a retired lawyer. This is not legal advice. This is merely my giving you some education about things in the law. This is going to be the first edition of the show where I dive into a legal issue that is specific to a case which I am very, very familiar with. The title of this, as you can see, is the corrupt Ohio First District of Appeals led by Judge Pierre Bergeron. Now, let me explain this a little bit. To say something is corrupt, I think one should have to have proof or evidence that something is so far afield from what is right that the label corrupt fits. You've heard of the expression, if the shoe fits, wear. So I am going to lay out for you an incredible issue of corruption for the First District Court of Appeals in Ohio. Now, let me just cover this first. Here are the three judges of the First District Court of Appeals: Pierre Bergeron, Judge Ginger Bach, Judge Marilyn Zayas, Judge Robert Winkler, Judge Jennifer Kinsley, and Judge Candace Krause. Now, let me point out something to you. There has been, over the last 4 or 5 years, a complete turnover of those judges. These are new judges with the exception of Robert Winkler. To my knowledge, Robert Winkler is the only Republican judge. What saved him in the last election, I believe, was he's one of the Winklers. His other brother is a probate judge. The Winklers are good guys, okay? Except another Hamilton County Republican judge told me that he believes Judge Robert Winkler is the one who, at the request of Dinsmore and Scholl, Cincinnati's largest law firm representing hospitals involved in the Durrani litigation, that he's the one that mucked up the consolidation of the cases with Judge Robert Ruhlman. Now, I believe the administrative judge in charge right now is Judge Candace Krause. I can share with you that the legal experience and background of these folks as a whole is pretty weak. Now, Judge Bergeron, who I'd like to focus on here for a minute, Judge Bergeron comes from a very large law firm, Squire Sanders. He is known for being a good writer. He law clerked when you say law clerk, you're a lawyer, for the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and he has high aspirations. All right? Now we move on to the next topic. When you appeal a case from Hamilton County to the First District Court of Appeals, it is going to be heard by 3 judge panels. Now, I know a lot of the inside workings of the First District Court of Appeals for the following reasons. I was once friends with Sylvia Hendon, who was on the First District Court of Appeals. I was once friends with Eric Deters, who was on the First District Court of Appeals. I was once friends with other judges that have been on the First District Court of Appeals. And I also got a lot of information from Joe Deters and Willie, whose wife was on the First District Court of Appeals. Willie used to tell me that none of the judges read anything except his wife. So when they had these 3 judge panels, it'd be like, Penny, what do you want to do? That Penny worked hard, and I believe that. That was her nature. I mean, I know Penny. She's by her nature a conscientious hard worker. Now, let me tell you something else. You know what Dennis Deters said? Dennis Deters said that he had so little work to do because the 2 staff attorneys assigned to each judge did all the work, that he had to drum up an excuse not to be finished before noon every day at work. So but you get a 3-judge panel, but the staff lawyers, you don't even know who they are, really doing all the work, and they're not elected. So the bureaucrats are very much involved in this. All right. First District handles all appeals from Hamilton County. That's their, because it's the big city. It's like Franklin County does Columbus, Cuyahoga County does Cleveland. Now, this is a recent issue, and this is why I'm calling them corrupt. Recently, the First District Court of Appeals ignored a long-standing Ohio Supreme Court precedent involving the absence of a witness or a party. Now, what is that? What that means is that if the defendant, the plaintiff, the party, the witness is gone, that the jury is allowed to draw whatever negative inference they want from them not being there. Well, everybody in the world now knows that Durrani fled under indictment back to Pakistan. He's not attended any of these trials. So the judge in these cases, Judge Reese, has followed Ohio Supreme Court rule and instructed the jury that they're allowed to make a negative inference. In one of the Durrani trials, I want to focus so far, it's one trial that involves Durrani. The judges, Bergeron, Zayas, and Krause, the opinions written by Bergeron, has completely ignored that Ohio Supreme Court rule. Just so you know, Hamilton County Common Pleas, First District Court of Appeals, Ohio Supreme Court. Ohio Supreme Court is king. What they say goes. Despite pointing it out to them on a motion to reconsideration, they still ignored it. So we will be filing this week, when I say we, Drake Law, will be filing this week a appeal to that, a motion for discretionary review to the Ohio Supreme Court. By the way, now would be a good time for me to explain that I am doing this as the president and owner of Eric Deters Media with knowledge of this. I am not a licensed attorney, nor am I employed by a law firm. I can say whatever the hell I want under my First Amendment rights. And it's a shame that nobody else speaks out about this stuff that knows what's going on. I'm it. If you got a problem with a judge or a lawyer and nobody's going to report on it, get me the information. If I agree with you, I'll help you out. Now, what's really wild is Bergeron, Zayas, and Krause seem to get every one of the Durrani appeals. And recently they wrote a decision where Bergeron actually says this. Now, you have to understand, for a jury verdict to get reversed is extremely rare. It has to be prejudicial error. Most appellate judges say, well, even if that was a mistake, it wouldn't have made any difference. In these Durrani cases, Drake Law, Deters Law, my previous law firm, calls a board-certified neurosurgeon, a board-certified orthopedic surgeon, a board-certified neuroradiologist, who all testify that what Durrani did is just outrageous. Guess what? The defense calls the same lawyer, same doctors over and over again, paid whores who lie, and the jury rejects them. The jury rejects them. You ready for this? In Hamilton County, you lose 90% of the cases that go to trial if you're a plaintiff. Drake Law, Deters Law has won 80% of the trials in Durrani, which means it's 170% swing. All right. Now, Durrani and CAST. These are the two defense. CAST is called the Center of Advanced Spine Technologies at Durrani. In a previous decision, these same judges ruled, you can't make this up, that the statute of repose, that 4-year thing, is told by Durrani leaving the country against Durrani, but not CAST. What? CAST is wholly owned by Durrani. You believe it? Now, the lawyers and law firms involved, guess what? You can't make it up. The law firm handling the appeals for Durrani is Taft, Detenius, and Hollister, or Taft Law, as they call it now. All these big law firms have shortened their names. Taft Law, DBL Law. Okay, so Taft Law, who is as political as they get, all right, Guess who has donated money to these First District Court of Appeals judges? Lawyers from Taft, Reminger, Frost Brown Todd, who represented Westchester. Guess what else all these lawyers and law firms do? They go to all the cocktail parties, all the CLEs, all the bar events, all those social gatherings, and they get to drink and talk to judges all day freaking long. Drake Law, formerly Deters Law, the lawyers are so busy they don't have time for all that. But that's what's going on. Guess what? These large law firms, including Taft, have PACs. Dinsmore's got a PAC. Taft has a PAC. They got PACs. And the PACs always say, PAC for better justice. No, it's not. Now, for those of you that might have forgotten, and this is going to go a little bit long, but I need to put in context for you what the Durrani victims have gone through. Here we go. There are currently 200 cases left to try. We began trying these cases in 2013. Judge Robert Ruhlman had a plan by trying them in groups. They would have all been tried, and this would all be over with in 2017. The morning of a mediation to try to settle all the cases, Maureen O'Connor issued an order breaking up the consolidation of all the cases with Judge Ruhlman, claiming that it was done improperly. And then I found out through a good source that she was threatening Ruhlman, threatening people. So Judge Ruhlman and the chief judge at the time were scared to just do it and do it correctly. By the way, the consolidation was not done improperly by anything Deters Law did. It had to do with Judge Ruhlman signing the order himself because the chief judge at the time, Judge Winkler, who's now in the First District Court of Appeals, wouldn't sign the order. And I understand from my source that Dinsmore told Winkler not to do anything. Check out who's donated to Winkler. All right. There is a rule by Ohio Supreme Court rule that says when Durrani cases started out in 2013, it was 2 years. But the Ohio Supreme Court rule says any civil case filed in the state of Ohio, it has to be over and done with and tried in 3 years. We are now going on 10 years and we have 200 cases left to try. I am a consultant now to Drake Law. All right? And I'm a smart mofo. I am going, you know what? To just know you're good at something. I hate false modesty. Like, for example, so many of you are just good at whatever you're good at. And, you can say, yeah, I'm pretty good at chess, or I'm pretty good at fixing a car. I'm pretty good at this. I'm good at math, okay? Folks, I have never known a better legal strategist than yours truly. Alan Statman, who has been hired by Deters Law, Drake Law to try the Durrani cases, might agree. I am very creative. And I want everyone to know, and the Durrani clients will be watching this, I want everybody to know that we got a little surprise coming. Drake Law does, an idea that I came up with, relative to the Ohio court system failure to do this. All right. Judge Schweikert. Judge Schweikert was appointed to handle these cases by Maureen O'Connor. He refused to do group trials. We asked and asked and asked for group trials. Judge Ruhlman was going to give us group trials. Could not get group trials. Judge Reese finally granted group trials. Judge Reese is trying these cases, and he's doing a good job. Who else gave group trials? Judge Barrett gave group trials. He tried 6 at a time. Reese tries 3 at a time. Now, here are some of the things, besides the issue that I just brought up in this video. For the first time in American legal history, Judge Schweikert put an order on sealing all of the verdicts. That includes punitive damages. Punitive damages are supposed to be for the public to know, to see how much you're punished. The Cincinnati Enquirer, when this happens, usually files things to unseal. They want to know the truth. Despite my cajoling him, Cincinnati Enquirer has done nothing to unseal those verdicts as a newspaper. By the way, we tried and didn't happen. Gag order. There's been a gag order put on these cases, which is really also unfair because the hospitals, for example, advertise for how great they are. You know, it's kind of ridiculous. Judgments delayed. Can't make this up. When we got like a whole bunch of judgments in a row, and this was like right before COVID, folks, the judge sat on the judgment entries for over a year. We had to file a writ to the Ohio Supreme Court to get the judgments. It delayed winning appeals for over a year. All right. 5-year scam. For 5 years, Durrani's lawyers, paid for by Medical Protective, said that Durrani couldn't give a deposition, wasn't available for a deposition, wouldn't give a deposition, lied. Finally, they got spooked because some judges were thinking about doing a sanction. They offered him for deposition in February 2018, March 2018. You can't make it up. At that deposition, Durrani said, "What are you talking about? I've always wanted to defend these cases. I've always wanted to cooperate, even from Pakistan. You can understand that he can testify from Pakistan by Zoom, video, whatever." 5-year scam is what they did. That's the basis of a lawsuit against Medical Protective for fraud, which discovery will be over in October. And I suspect that there might be a trial date come spring. Incredible. Nearly 100 Durrani victims have died during this 10-year period. Many directly or indirectly as a result of what Durrani did. What does that mean? That means you got to set up an estate. They don't get to testify in court. Medical Protective and the Ohio court system does not care. I famously went to jail ordered by Schweikert for 15 days. I served 8. First District Court of Appeals let me out. And you know what? Why did I go to jail? He said I was violating the gag order when I wasn't. I was railing on him for not giving these people the trial. And I went to jail for 8 days, proudly. By the way, I don't ever want to go back. And it was the longest damn 8 days in the world. When I hear these jail sentences, they have no idea how long that. You want to live a long, long life, Josh Wentz? What you should do is commit a crime and serve life. 8 days seem like forever to me. All right. I was banned from the Hamilton County Justice Center because I said in frustration, what do we have to do? Burn down the courthouse to get our trial dates? Because courthouses were under attack all around the country by Black Lives Matter. Robert Winkler, Chief Judge, entered an order banning me from the Hamilton County Courthouse as a result of that. Are you ready for this? Drum roll. Think of all the mean, nasty, evil people that have gone through the Hamilton County Justice Center, Hamilton County Courthouse. I understand I am the only person banned from the Hamilton County Courthouse in its history. You believe that? All right. Children's Hospital allowed Durrani to perform unnecessary spine surgeries on kids. Why do we know that? Because a whistleblower, Dr. Charles Melman, you ready for this? Orthopedic doctor at Cincinnati Children's, started complaining inside Children's Hospital for years, all the way back 2006. What happened to him as a result? Children started picking on him. You can't make this up. Melman's been there about 30 years, never sued for malpractice, has sued Children's Hospital for their mistreatment of him, and has agreed to be our expert on children's cases. In the history of medical malpractice, no time as an employed doctor of a hospital agreed to be the expert witness against this hospital for which he has sued for picking on him for complaining about the doctor in question. Unfreaking believable. The hospitals, the media, the judges, and the large law firms are all in cahoots. Why? The large law firms represent the media, 5, 9, 12, 19, the Inquirer, WLW. They represent the hospitals. They mingle with the judges. They give money to the judges. And guess what? the hospitals after auto dealers. Why do I know this? I was at WLW. The hospitals after car dealerships spend more money on advertising than any other industry. Hospitals are our largest employers. When's the last time you saw a hit piece on a hospital? Not. All right. The Democrats and the Republicans, the state legislators, and the Ohio Supreme Court passed what's called a statute of repose. You got to bring your claim within 4 years, no matter when you find out. It's found unconstitutional in Kentucky and a bunch of other states. You can't make this up. The Republican legislature passed it. Republican Supreme Court upheld it. I wrote a letter to every Democrat legislator in the state of Ohio, bringing this up to them. Guess how many responded? Not one. Liens. Can't make this up. The insurance companies approve these unnecessary spine surgeries. We sue, we get a settlement. Then the health insurance company says, we want our money back for this unnecessary spine surgery. Unprecedented. Deters Law sued every single insurance company and said, we're suing you for approving this unless you waive your lien. A lot of insurance companies did the right thing and did. Guess who didn't? Ohio's Medicare, Medicaid. COVID hit in 2020. You could say a year and a half, but really 2 years. 2 years, delayed trials from 2020 to 2022. It's awful. 2-year delay. The court system are woke wimps. It's a fact. All right, bar battles. During this entire time, it has been a relentless, unfair attack upon me by Kentucky and Ohio. It's why I retired. I actually retired from practicing law so I could work on the Durrani cases in 2013. Because if I didn't retire, I couldn't work on the cases. Just so you know, this is it's on the agenda. I'll wait for it. All right. Then we have the win on medicine. Mike Lyon, one of the Durrani lawyers defending these cases, always says, we can win on the medicine. It's all this collateral stuff that's why we're losing. It is a bunch of crock. Bunch of crock. And it's amazing that they can still defend this guy. All right. The Butcher Pakistan. You know, I wrote this book. It came out June 2 years ago. Guess how many people in the Cincinnati tri-state? It was the largest book release in the history, passed up Willie's, and the tri-state. Not one news outlet did a story about the book. Not one news outlet has done a story. By the way, we can't even get any national traction. I'm a believer, though. Sooner or later, that story is going to go woof. I tell everything in that book about what's going on in this battle. All right. Our costs, experts, and trials. What do you think it costs to bring in a neurosurgeon, an orthopedic surgeon, and a neuroradiologist every couple weeks for trials? Lawyers trying those cases, staff to support those cases, nurses, all of that, nonstop. This is another major story, never been to that fact. 80% of the cases, probably won 80 trials, probably lost 20. And folks, massive verdicts, almost 300 million in verdicts, 40 million plus covered under the insurance policy. Guess what? No one has ever done that. It's $2 million a year. Guess who finances that for Deters Law, then Fagan Law, now Drake Law? Me. There are so many jealous haters out there about me that I'm some bad, evil guy. I'm this, I'm that, and everything else. Let me tell you something. All my few lawyer friends, I can count my lawyer hands on these hands. By the way, there's like 6,000 lawyers in the extended tri-state. I can count my lawyer friends on 2 hands. I want to tell you something. Every one of those lawyers will tell you that no one in the history of law, no one around here could have and would have done what I've done helping these victims. The stories that I tell in the book, and I'm going to tell in the sequel to the book, what lawyers have said to me will just make you hate lawyers all the more. I have promised these Durrani victims that I will never, ever stop fighting for them, funding this cause. And sometimes it's rough, but I always find a way. You see, I received a lot of money over these hospital settlements. That money put right back in to finish off Durrani. It has been a 10-year battle where Medical Protective, think about this, the largest insurance company for doctors in the world. Guess what? They bring in $3 billion premiums a year. They're owned by Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett gave $4 billion to charity last year. $4 billion. And he refused to offer any single client of the 580 victims a single dollar. He's declined to offer these people ever, at any point in time, more than $4 million. $40 million for the 400 people affected by the insurance policy would be only $100,000. Judge Guggenberger, who had the case first, would stop at every break and say, why aren't you guys offering them $40 million? This is nuts. And they haven't. Why? Why? Because Medical Protective is evil. And any judge who bends over backwards to help the fleeing felon, Dr. Durrani, and Medical Protective will get my public wrath. They may not care. They may not care. Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor, now retired, could never, ever debate me on this, justify her actions on this, ever. And she worries about her legacy. And she acts like she's this impartial Republican, with redistricting and everything else. Let me tell you something. I'm going to hold out hope. I'm going to hold out hope that the current Chief Justice, Sharon Kennedy, does what is right by these victims. It's past time something is done for these victims. I have promised. And you know what is the other thing? People talk the talk. They don't walk the walk. I went broke fighting for these people up to 2018. I'll go broke again if I have to. Well, I'm not broke now, but I'll go broke again. I've promised these victims that I will live in a barn if I have to before I ever quit and give up. I'm not there yet. Maybe I'll get there one day. I don't think so. I think this will be over in less than a year now. But you need to understand this. That I have walked the walk in this. I don't want this to be about me. I want this to be about the Durrani victims and the unfair treatment from the system. But I have played a role in that struggle and in that battle. So I'll close with this. I can't stand this big shot Cincinnati lawyer said to me once, Eric, why don't you just settle for what you can get and make your money and get out of that? I shared that with the Durrani victims. I said, these lawyers want me to sell you out. You know why the Durrani victims have stayed loyal to me through if I'm such a bad guy, if I'm such a crook, you know why they stayed loyal to me through all my woes? Because they trust me, as they should, because I've never let them down. Always been truthful with them, and I'm financing this thing to my financial detriment, and they appreciate it. It's a special bond. No lawyer will ever have a bond like I do with these Durrani victims. Ever, 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 ever. It's amazing. So there you have it. Pierre, my wife, when I did the video, and I might post it too after I post this, when I mocked Pierre, when I did a video on Labor Day over at the First District Court of Appeals because the parking lot was empty and I wanted to put it in the background. I said, Pierre Bergeron, the Frenchman, Pierre, I'm your sworn enemy. Now you can say, oh, I don't care. All right, we'll see. We'll see. You want that Supreme Court judgeship? You want to move up the ladder? You want to go to the Sixth Circuit? I will do all I can to keep that from happening and show whatever committee's going to review whatever you do, what you've done in these cases. So you don't have to care, Pierre. I care. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great one.